this was a session that is particularly around discrepancies, WTF are we supposed to do about this? And that's what we should call it. And because this is something that, all of us have been trying to figure out for, I feel like the last month or two, everyone's in this boat. And we're all trying to navigate the world of how to make decisions and what it looks like. So I'll just start by saying what I'm specifically speaking about is the difference between North Beam or triple whale numbers and what Meta is showing. And here's what I know. What I know is those are built off of first-party data. They are built off of UTMs. And many times, those numbers don't match because they also include view data. So I know that for one. I also know that they don't account for attribution windows properly 100% of the time, and that can get confusing. Mm-hmm. And to Karan's point, and Karan and I did a webinar about this a few weeks ago, very few people even understand the what attribution even is actually measuring. So I think so there's a whole bunch of issues. But what we have is on the baseline, and that's true, you can always say oh, you don't understand it fully, all this. But the baseline is attribution got messed up because of iOS 14. Third-party tools came in to solve it. A lot of us got dependent upon, and we're using. Can you still hear me? Karan says he can't hear me.
Yep, we can hear
you. The attribution got screwed up or got solved or helped with the third-party tools. And because of the help that came from third-party tools, we became dependent upon them. And now Meta numbers on a click basis, because of federated learnings, looking at all these different accounts with anonymized data, are becoming more reliable to look at again.
The layers of complexity depend on several different things, including things like the size of your business, how many channels you're using. And I think as both of those things increase, the complexity scales with it to a degree, right? If you're spending on one channel, if your ads are working or not, or you should, right? You shouldn't need to look inside of Facebook to know. Obviously, directionally, maybe between ad sets or on the ad level, you want to get a breakdown, but you shouldn't need something like I should get this caveat out of the way. We invested in triple whale before attribution was a thing. So I just want to do that, have that clear. You shouldn't need triple whale attribution to help you make decisions around the platform if you're only using one channel and you don't have strong organic traffic. Because the truth is in your bank account, right? You can see I'm making money or I'm not making money. So right. If you're looking at, we can dig down into how we kind of break it down on a platform level, but the way that we like to start, and actually one thing that the Common Thread team did put out that was really helpful is kind of a way to look at metrics, and we organize our dashboards in the same way. And we start with something like contribution margin or net profit at the top, and then we kind of work our way down. So that's can't lie about that number. It's hard to make that one up. Then you go down into things like total MER, total sales, total ad spend. That gives you kind of an overall blend. And you take it one layer deeper and you start to look at the individual customer level metrics. So how does my new customer revenue look? How does my repeat customer revenue look? How does my AMER or new customer ROAS, or whatever acronym you want to use to define that? How does that look? Because that tells you about acquisition level. And then after that, we start to go channel specific and try to figure out what the heck is going on, to your point. And that's where where people start to get in the weeds of okay, what is triple whale? What is North Beam telling me about these channels? So view through attribution it causes, I think, a lot of issues for people making decisions. And then the other big one that I've seen cause issues is the way that retargeting and retention get reported from something like Meta on even a 7-day click with no view through, as opposed to what something like triple whale or North Beam might report. Now, those, at least for us, are a much smaller, less than 10% percentage of spend across our book for the most part. So I'm not as concerned about being perfectly optimized in there, although we certainly try to. And it's hard to say what the discrepancy is on those specific audiences, but pure acquisition, we've seen a much smaller gap between what Facebook is reporting on a 7-day click and what something like a Triple Whale is reporting on a 7-day click. So then to your point, the question is, well, which one am I making a decision off of? And I think this is where it's up to you to decide which one you want, and that needs to be measured against a metric that cannot as easily lie to you, like AMER, new customer ROAS.
My personal opinion is that I think Triple Whale and Northbeam have built enough features over time outside of just the measurement that are making it useful for advertisers on an ongoing basis. But do you see a future? Do you see like more people stopping using them for measurement on a daily basis because you would just trust Meta because the ads are optimizing on Meta and things like that?
We adopted Triple Whale and used it for attribution for a period of time. Before that, we were just using like last click GA coupled with our own internal sheets. But we found we're using Triple Whale less and less. You know, now that we can just compare attribution windows within Meta, we just make the decisions exactly like how you described, Brad.
The one thing that's nice about the tools is maybe it provides some consistency across channels that aren't speaking to each other, right? Like Google versus Facebook versus Snapchat versus TikTok. Like maybe that gives you some layer of, okay, it's tracking things in roughly the same way using but so does GA potentially. So there's the caveat there. If you have a decent amount of spend, you know, we're talking a couple $1,000s, even hundreds of dollars, usually the discrepancy between what Facebook is reporting and Triple Whale is reporting on a click basis isn't that significant in most cases. So we're not making ad decisions. We're not turning off an ad in most cases because there's Triple Whale looks terrible, but Facebook looks great. Now, in cases of like higher AOV clients where that one purchase makes a huge difference on ROAS because they got a $400 purchase, that gets a little bit weirder. And I think it makes there's a really good point to be made that, yeah, Facebook can't make decisions with information that they don't have. So I think it's a fair point. But I think there's also a point to be said that if you feel that, you know, if you are using your internal metrics and you're using Northbeam or Triple Whale reported ROAS on a platform basis mapped against AMER, and you're coaching the platform down that direction, like I think every once in a while they're going to be off. But if you keep spending against an ad and it's working amazing in Triple Whale, but it looks terrible on Facebook, eventually Facebook's going to figure that out.
The fact is Facebook is not looking at anything that you're doing with your budgets because there are like 20 different reasons why you are managing your budget. Performance is just one of them, right? What I am looking at day to day, it's our first party pixel and Facebook's in attribute is pretty much parallel, right? For some accounts, Facebook is over reporting. For some accounts, Facebook is under reporting. But there is a fairly consistent delta between external third-party pixel-based management and in-platform reporting. One of the things that I think we've already discussed is the view-based attribution. I think that one is always tricky because I am in strong favor of excluding that from all decision considerations, simply because anybody who's at any touch point with the brand, Facebook is likely to show them the ad. It may or may not have had any impact on it.